I love you. Welcome back to the Couch Potatoes. I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
Oh, and I am the Faceless Leo. I am going to not do that anymore. This is
I was going to say, I wasn't
Faceless-
even trying for Mickey.
This is Green and Faceless on the Couch, a podcast about movies and TV. And it's not about Mickey Mouse. We're not even talking about Disney movies. We do that.
No.
We have a whole playlist of
You said doo-doo.
I did. We are, however, talking about a childhood favorite today.
Indeed.
Yes, here recently a new adaptation, not just in film. The film is very recent, but the musical is not as recent. Of Matilda. When we were very young, Danny DeVito said, "I need this movie."
He did. And we never knew that it was Danny DeVito. We knew he was in it.
Yeah. But apparently he very passionately wanted to make this movie. And
but hell yeah.
Hell yeah, indeed. He did a great job. It's always been a childhood favorite of mine. I can't tell you how many times I've watched Matilda. I've watched it enough times that when I watched it as an adult, it had been a long time, and I was like, damn, I swore that this part of the movie where she's like discovering her powers took forever. But it was only like 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, I agree. No, there was a lot of that coming back because I only watched this as a kid. I haven't watched this in maybe 15 to 20 years.
It's been a long time,
and so
it was like every day for a while.
Right. It was definitely an interesting return. I will say that. I do not know how often my brother and I watched this movie. We watched it a lot. Right. But it feels like in memory, and my mom will have to correct me on this if whether it's true or not, but it feels like in memory that this was one of those movies that my brother and I latched onto for like 2 months and then forgot about. Because we, all kids have that phase where they just want to watch the same movie over and over again because it captivated them in such a way. Right. And I feel like that's how Matilda was. I feel like we didn't return to Matilda a lot. It was just one of those movies of a small period in time that we just watched a lot of and then got bored with. Same thing with Indian in the Cupboard. Do you remember Indian in the Cupboard? I
do remember Indian
not a politically correct title, but
except for I had never seen the movie. I don't know if I have at all ever seen that movie. It was just a trailer that was on nearly every damn movie that I had.
That was when VHSs still had their previews before you got to the damn movie. Oh my god, those were the days, man.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, DVDs and Blu-rays still do that, but it's usually easily skippable. Yeah. So
you just hit the R1 button.
In this movie, what did I want to say? I wanted to say something about the regularity of watching it. Yes, I grew up in a daycare, as I've said before, that my mother ran. And so, when kids wanted to watch a movie, we would watch like the same movie over and over again. And then my mom would hide it. And then she would hide other movies and, parse other movies back in with the pile, right? And then, if this showed back up, or, other movies were in this category as well, but if this movie showed back up, people were like, Matilda! Oh, I love Matilda! Let's watch Matilda! Yeah. And, I can't say that I've ever watched it or had it put on and said, no, I don't want to watch Matilda.
Right.
It's a classic
that's
movie.
Fair. And it definitely did bring back nostalgia because it's like I'll return to this point later on after we finish the summary, but it was really I was pulled through by nostalgia and rewatching because it's so much different than what I remember. It's so
really it was how I recall.
I don't know. I mean I'll come back to that point after we go through the summary, but it definitely it felt weird coming back to this movie.
I see. Well, let's jump into a summary here. So, firstly, this is based off of a novel by Roald Dahl, who is English, I believe Danish, maybe Dutch-born. I'm sorry, I didn't pull up his biography. But he is English and fought in World War II for England. And when he came back, decided to be a writer. And he wrote novels, short novels that are very popular among children. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, of course.
The Witches.
Big Friendly Giant, or BFG, I think it might just be its title simply. And just so many others.
Yeah, I always thought it was Big Fucking Giant until the movie came out.
Fucking Giant.
I literally did think that for a lot of my childhood because it was just the BFG, and like in everything. If we say something like BFM, it's Big Fucking Machine. That was just that was something my family always did.
Oh man,
and yeah, I just saw BFG and I thought Big Fucking Giant. And I watched the movie with Mark Rylance, and it's just he's the Big Friendly Giant. And I was like, friendly.
That makes so much more sense.
It's a children's book.
So, Roald Dahl really likes this classroom setting. From my recollection of reading Roald Dahl books, there's this one that'll probably never get adapted, but is more of like a memoir of when he went to actual school, and is a lot about the other kids being cruel to him, and so he's also very good at depicting cruelty to some really heroic characters, and these characters, their own character pulls them through. And it's good stuff. I think.
He always felt like a young adult Charles Dickens. Like he had a really good eye for that childhood, just nature, that atmosphere that surrounds a child of his time.
Yeah, and it seems like always, it's usually a child protagonist, and they're always living in some kind of despair. So Matilda's despair is that her parents, the Wormwoods, absolutely did not want to have a daughter.
No.
And they have one. In this movie and in the book, they already had a son named Michael. Michael's played by Brian Levinson in this movie. Danny DeVito plays Mr. Wormwood. He also narrates. And Rhea Perlman, who was Danny DeVito's wife at the time, plays Mrs. Wormwood.
Yeah.
And they were married for a really long time.
They're still friends.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
Right.
Mara Wilson, who is a very famous child actor from our childhood, plays Matilda.
Has she done anything?
I don't know.
Since,
let's see.
Okay, she was in, Mrs. Doubtfire was, that's, that, Miracle on 34th Street, Matilda, those are
it looks like she's been doing some voice acting in the latter years.
Good. At least she's still doing something.
Right.
She was in the Big Hero 6 TV show.
An incredibly talented child actor. Like when I think of child actor from when we grew up, I think of Mara Wilson, her face anyways. And
interesting.
From all
I think of Macaulay Culkin.
Yes, he's the male that I envision.
Yes.
So while Matilda was being made, while this movie was being made, Mara's mom actually was diagnosed with cancer. And
oh shit!
Yeah, the nights that and this continued after the film as well. Like Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman kind of became her aunt and uncle. And they would host her on nights when her mom was getting treatment and stuff. So, yeah.
Wow, that's very sad. That changes the whole emotion of the movie.
Yeah, it sure as shit does. And, you know, like, it just makes me really love Danny DeVito even more than I already do.
Yeah.
And I also like Rhea Perlman from Cheers. Yeah, they're both just the worst humans in this film. So they completely ignore Matilda, forget to sign her up for school.
My God, yeah.
And in the meantime, while they're ignoring her, she's figuring out how to be a human being. Danny in the narration says that Matilda learns what most people take their late 30s to learn, and that's how to take care of themselves. And
yeah, she reads all these fucking books from the library. She's constantly in and out of there. Like, that's one of the more frustrating moments of the movie too, is when Danny DeVito's as her dad gets just super pissed off at her and just rips up a library book.
Yeah, he's like, "Where'd you get that book? It's probably stolen." And she's like, "No, you're the crook." Because Mr. Wormwood likes to take old cars, roll back the odometer on it, and all sorts of other crooked things, stolen car parts, all that kind of stuff to make a quick crooked dollar. He, in fact, sells a car to Miss Trunchbull, played by Pam Ferris. She
amazingly played by Pam Ferris.
Classically.
She got hurt so many times making this movie.
She did? I believe it. She went all out.
One of the big... She is the mean principal of this school that...
Yes.
Yeah, what was the school called? It was
Cruncham Hall.
Cruncham Hall. Cruncham Hall. Yeah, she's the principal. She's very... Or headmistress. She's very... general-like.
Now I think about it, they might have called her a principal in this movie.
Maybe, I don't know, sure.
Because this is an American cast, and it's, like, obviously in the book it's an English setting, and in the musical it is as well.
Maybe in the book it was a headmistress, and in the movie, I don't remember. It don't matter, really. But she is, like, just crazy mean, very brutal. And in one of the scenes is she grabs a girl by her pigtails and swings her around. I always thought she swung a dummy. It was practical. She swung a kid. There was wires on.
Okay.
Wires going through the hair and everything. And when she tossed her, maybe it was still a dummy. I don't know. But when she tossed her, one of the wires cut her finger or something, like cut her hand or something. That was just one of the many injuries she sustained in making this film.
What a boss.
So it's like she literally bled for this role, and it's amazing.
And yeah, I mean, she is amazing. She's intense. Miss Trunchbull is an athlete, an Olympic athlete, doing all of the throwing activities. The hammer throw, but she also did the shot put and I believe javelin.
Shot put.
And,
yes.
And so she is very talented in a very physical way, but she hates children. Yep. Absolutely hates children, and runs a private school for some reason because the children must be squashed. That is why.
Exactly. Because she was bullied as a kid, now she must bully kids.
Yeah, but that's never revealed that that's the reasoning. She has no reason.
You just assume.
She is just a villain. Yeah, she is in this anyways, she's more of a villain.
There's not a lot of emotional, like how a lot of movies like try to give you an emotional moral reasoning for why the villain does what they do. There's none of that in the original Matilda. No. She is just an iron fist.
When she's particularly angry at children, she takes them and puts them in this little corner locker thing that's covered in broken glass and nails. Real legal stuff.
Like the Iron Maiden.
Yeah, it's like the Iron Maiden, but a Foot Locker.
Crazy.
It is
Yeah.
It is messed up.
It's really crazy.
She, working under her at this school, one of the teachers is Miss Honey, played by Mbeth Davids. And
I don't want to I know we get a lot of shit for talking about names, but Mbeth?
Well, I don't know where she's from.
I've never heard that name before. It's so Mbeth.
She's from Lafayette, Indiana.
So hey, Purdue. Wait. I guess that's not that'd be West Lafayette. Is there a Lafayette and a West Lafayette, or is it the same?
I don't know.
I've lived here my whole life, and I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that Lafayette, Indiana, is where Purdue is. I guess I could look.
It's the same. It's the same as West Lafayette, then I would assume.
Let's see.
Here we go. Lafayette, Indiana versus West Lafayette, Indiana.
We're so stupid.
Oh my God, they are different places. They're across the Wabash River from each other.
Oh my God. Well,
it's a 7-minute drive.
She plays Miss Honey, who becomes Matilda's teacher after Danny DeVito is told that he's legally required to send his daughter to school. That he makes a deal with Trunchbull to sell her the car and take Matilda off his hands. And even though it's a shit car, she does agree to take Matilda, and really the idea is to discipline the hell out of her because she's a rotten kid. But that's not true. Matilda's actually just a bright, wonderful child, and Miss Honey realizes right away that she's a genius. And so she tries to help.
Mathematical whiz.
She tries to help as best she can. In the long run of things, just to get through this synopsis so we can just talk about things we like about the movie, Matilda realizes that she has telepathic abilities.
Yeah.
And so she starts using that, not just against her parents, but against Miss Trunchbull, and finds out that Miss Trunchbull really kind of did Miss Honey wrong. I won't give all the details, I think.
Right.
She did Miss Honey wrong, and she uses her powers to set things right. And she's always had a pattern of doing this. There's a lot of hijinks with Danny DeVito's character, like bleaching his hair and gluing his hat to his head.
Gluing his hat was the best.
Yes.
Good stuff. No, that's honestly the to go into things I did not like first.
Sure.
When coming back to the rewatch, and it's very few. If you're a lover of this movie, I'm not gonna be shitting all over it. Please don't worry. It'll be fine. You'll be okay. The telekinesis, I remembered that in my memory as being a huge thing.
Yeah.
It happens in literally the last 20 minutes of the movie, and it literally comes out of left field. It kind of feels like Roald Dahl finished writing his story, reread it, and goes, shit, I just copied Charles Dickens, 5 Charles Dickens novels. That's all I did. Okay, what can I do? She's got telekinesis. I got it. And he just rewrites the ending real quick. She's got telekinesis, and he's just like, yeah, I did it. It's not Charles Dickens. It's now this. And I'm just like, no, it just feels so weird because it's just they kind of hint at it early, but that's it. It's a tiny hint, and then it's nothing for an hour. And then she's just immediately oh, I can close that door. That was me that did that. Okay. And then they're I got powers now. And I'm just where did this come from?
So I think that they honestly, at least I thought they did better in this version than in the musical version, because
I disagree. I feel again, the musical has the exact same issue. And both of them, honestly, we can start talking about the musical as well, because the musical literally does follow pretty much the exact same synopsis that we just outlined. There are differences. But
are you breaking the format?
I know. I'm sorry. But I feel like it works because the new one doesn't. I mean, we'll still talk more about the new one after like a soda pop break.
Okay.
But in regards to the synopsis, like it has the exact same issue, which is that the telekinesis comes out of left field. It really does just feel like where the fuck did this come in? But now, okay, this is what the story is now, I guess. But there's a fun song behind it. Whereas in the original, it's just a stupid montage with somebody else's song behind it. With a fun
song behind it.
But it's someone else's song. They took another song.
I gotta say, this was definitely the first place that I ran into Rusted Roots.
Hell yeah, same. Well, actually, no. I might have seen Home for the Holidays first. I'm not sure, but
I definitely seen this first. Yeah. 'Cause
I
didn't see that.
I feel like as a kid I would have seen this before I saw Home for the Holidays. I don't, I feel like there's some things in Home for the Holidays that I would not quite have understood as a kid.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all right. There's some other things I want to mention about this movie before we go on to the next one.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I feel like there is enough hints at her abilities before it happens. But of course, I have seen this movie a bazillion times, and nostalgia is probably blinding me. But
right.
To move on from that point, I do want to talk about the speedboat salesman.
Which one?
The speedboat salesman.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Rhea Perlman is being Mrs. Wormwood, is being very friendly with these two speedboat salesmen, who are played by Paul Rubens and Tracy Walter. And Paul Rubens being Pee Wee Herman, so that's fun.
If you don't know his real name, yes, yeah.
His real name, yes. Which one is his real name?
Pee Wee, of course.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, it's very obvious to everyone else, besides Mrs. Wormwood, maybe even Mr. Wormwood, that they're cops. They're feds. They are definitely looking into and staking out the Wormwood's house because of all of the stolen merchandise and the bad business dealings. So yeah, that part to me has always been really funny because like she's Rhea Perlman sitting on the couch with them being all flirty, and they got this toy speedboat, and they're like asking probing questions about her husband's work.
Oh my god. It's
so funny. Like the Wormwoods just are so stupid, and it's perfect.
Right. Yeah, they really are like that a good. I mean, it's similar to to use a bad example, it's similar to Harry Potter with Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia.
Yeah.
They are just the very bigoted, very selfish elder couple that doesn't want anything to do with the kids, but are stuck with watching over a kid.
They're what's wrong with the entirety of society all wrapped up into two people.
Yeah, exactly. and they do a really good job at it. Both
they do.
Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman. They're obviously already just a great couple, but both of them switching their real, what you would assume are their real life selves to be complete asshole versions of a great couple. It's amazing. It really works really well. You hate both of these characters just as much as you hate Trunchbull.
Right.
Like she's like everybody does villain really well in this movie.
They do. It is very melodramatic that way. Which works for a kid movie. So I think we're ready for closing statements.
Yeah. I still enjoy it. I know that I say that the telekinesis was out of left field. Then there's also montage scenes. If you've listened to enough of these podcasts, I hate montage scenes, and this is one of the iconic moments of why I hate a montage scene. They didn't introduce this. They may have hinted at it, but they didn't introduce it properly until the very end, into the third act, is when they introduce this key personality trait of this character that's going to help her accomplish her goals. And in order to show that she learns how to do all this stuff, they put it to one song and do a montage real quick. Introduce it at the beginning, show her learning it throughout the entire fucking movie, so that when she needs it by the end, it feels right. Montages don't do that. It's not good. And that was the part that hurt when I was rewatching this movie, because I had completely forgotten that she was telekinetic. And I was just enjoying this Charles Dickens story because I love Charles Dickens stories. I know it's Roald Dahl, but let's be honest, Roald Dahl literally just wrote Charles Dickens. That's all he did. He just wrote it for kids. But I was really enjoying this kind of story and having a good time. And then the telekinesis happened. I was like, oh, right, yeah, I forgot she could do this. It kind of disappointed me, like, because then they did a montage and then she just used his power, and I was like, oh, I was kind of just like, Mrs. Trunchbull makes a kid eat an entire fucking chocolate cake in one of the grossest scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was.
And so you want her to the revenge to feel good, and yes, it does feel good. But it's also using this power that was just introduced like 5 seconds ago. And I'm just like, I was so sad. I thought there was more to it. I thought it was more like, the kids uprising and throwing Trunchbull out. I couldn't remember how I remembered it as a kid, but I was very excited for it. And then the telekinesis happened. I was like, oh, right. And I was so upset. But I still give it 3 stars. I know people are pissed now. There's a lot of people who are just like, fuck you.
Still give it 3 stars.
I still enjoyed it. I still did enjoy it. 3 stars.
All right, so I just wanted to say The Kid with the Cake, because we're going to talk about it in the next movie, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So that was Bruce Bogtrotter. So everybody's got magical names.
That's another Charles Dickens trait.
Yeah.
They all have names that resemble their character traits.
Yes.
Like, and the teacher, Miss Honey. She's got a sweet personality.
100%.
Very lovely. The people you're supposed to hate, the Wormwoods.
Trunchbull.
Trunchbull. Like, great names.
So,
Bob and Bill.
Bruce Bogtrotter, though, in this one was Jimmy Carts, just to put that out there, since we're going to mention him. And I'm sure we'll talk about maybe Lavender as well. Kami Duvall plays Lavender in this one. Just so
and she's Matilda's best friend.
Yes. Well, like, meet the first day in a little hideaway on the playground. The playground, if you can call it that. It's disgusting.
You're right.
But, like, one of the girls is like, don't hide in there. She likes to swip her whip in there. Crack her whip. That's what she said. Crack her whip in there just to see if anybody's hiding. She's fucking insane. Like, you learn that like right away that she is insane. And I just kept on saying that watching this whole movie, because she's even more insane than I remembered. Like, I remembered her throwing the kids. I remembered the chokey. But like it's so much more. It's intense.
Yeah, she is, but she is like in this well, I'll save this for the after. What was your closing?
Okay, my closing statement is that I think it is an extremely charming movie. I want to talk a little bit about that montage. So almost all of the effects in that were practical. So that is true. Very, very fun to me. So they're like, okay, now we're going to introduce the telekinesis. And I get that you're like, okay, why does it have to be all at once? For me as a kid, it definitely worked. Like I said, I thought that part was so long, but it was just the length of the song. That's it.
Yeah, it literally is.
So
and that's another thing. The music is beautiful. Like, there's so many good music. The music is done by Christopher Nightingale.
Yeah.
Really good score throughout most of the movie. And then they just have 3, because of the credits too. They just have 3 random moments where it's just somebody else's song. 2 was by Rusted Root. I don't remember if Rusted Root did the montage scene also, but I can't remember what the song was.
That was, I think, I thought it was a Rusted Root song. That was whatever.
It might have been. I know the opener and closer were the exact same.
Maybe it's Send Me on
I feel
the Way
like that was
3 times.
I thought that was the opener and closer.
Maybe it was in the movie 3 times. They don't have that many songs.
Maybe it was it really could have been the exact same song 3 times in a row.
And maybe that's not great. And maybe that's on Danny DeVito. But we wouldn't have this movie.
Even though it is a beautiful song.
We wouldn't have this movie if it wasn't for Danny DeVito. I love this movie. I think it holds up from childhood. And I think I could very well watch it again. It gets a face and a half. I quite enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Well, whew, we did it.
Everybody's so pissed at me now.
You still gave it a good rating.
Like you were shitting on my childhood. You fucker.
Oh, boy.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We'll take a soda pop break. We can all calm down and we'll return and finish off with the musical.
All right. We'll be back.
I love you.
Oh. Well, I've seen you read that one before.
Imagica by Clive Barker.
That's more of a fantasy, right?
Yeah, this one is, yeah. It's very, it's like fantasy. There is a religious backing to it, but very faint. And of course, it's got Clive Barker's signature "sex everywhere" because Clive Barker loves the sex.
Yeah.
And I love his love of sex.
And I love sex too. Welcome back to the show.
Indeed.
We are not going to be talking about sex anymore because we're talking about
Maybe
a
not.
children's show.
Oh, that's fair. That's very fair. We won't be talking about sex anymore. Oh, goodness. No, and there's really no need. I mean, we will talk some of the differences of the synopsis,
right.
But there's no need to like dive into the synopsis. I want to say the first thing I wanted to talk about and the key differences was Mrs. Trunchbull.
Sure,
Miss Trunchbull.
Of course. But before we go too far, I did want to go ahead and correct ourselves from the previous statements.
Oh, yes.
Made. So we did some
I was
looking
correct.
up. Okay, sure. But the song to the montage, to the telekinetic montage, is Little Pretty One, right? That's not right.
Little bitty pretty one or something like that.
That's probably right.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. It's the one that I think I can do like a few seconds. I can do a few seconds before we get flagged for like copyright. But it's the one that's like, yeah. I'm not a singer, so forgive me. But that's
I think they get the point, unless they were born after 2000.
That's
then they
fair.
probably don't.
Fucking
So, moving on.
Crazy kids here.
Trunchbull. Tell me about
Mrs.
Trunchbull.
This one is played by Emma Thompson.
I fucking loved it.
Amazing. It's really amazing because like so the when did the musical come out? The musical itself.
The musical itself, I don't know. This is an adaptation of Tony and I forget their name. I looked it up.
Tim Minchin and Dennis Kelly. They did the musical. And it came out in I think 2010. When it went to Broadway or somewhere. Somewhere big.
It got big.
Stratford upon Avon.
And I think a lot of the reason why it got so big, some of the songs I'm not gonna say the songs are bad.
No, I actually really enjoyed them. They're not rememberable. They're not ear candy in my opinion. They
all sound the same, unfortunately.
Yeah. But they are still good. They still do have a stage feel.
There's still some very fun things to the music, and but one thing is that it very much feels like Spring Awakening, the musical. I know you probably haven't seen it.
I haven't, but I can get the idea of what you're saying. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're not really doing anything new. And I think, though, it does still work, that it feels like Spring Awakening, because Spring Awakening is about school children. They're more of the middle school, high school age, I believe, in that. But it is about rebellion and learning yourself. Spring Awakening is. That really works for Matilda, especially this one, because there's the one song that keeps on getting refrained is Revolting Children. I think that's what it's called.
And I really like that song.
That's a really good song. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is that basically all the songs have that same beat.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't get changed up. Beyond that, I still like the presentation of the story.
Right. I really enjoy... I feel like it would be more... Like, okay, I enjoy the movie, but I feel like it would be very fun to see the stage version.
Sure.
Because it has all of the things I love about stage. So it was very fun to hear all this music. I think the kids were actually really good singers. There's really a lot of really good child acting in both films. Both films have great child acting, but I was really surprised with this one because they also had to sing.
Right. And it's basically an opera. There's not that many speaking lines. Yeah.
And it's really good in that regard, like in my opinion, in regards to the music part of it. But Emma Thompson, like the hard, what I was getting at though is like the very hard part about adapting something so nostalgically iconic,
right, is
that you obviously have those big roles that you're already looking up to. You have Mara Wilson as Matilda,
right?
Damn good, we know her for that. I sadly can't remember the
Alicia Weir.
Actress.
Oh, I'm
Thank
sorry.
You.
That Alicia Weir is who plays Matilda in the musical.
Oh, gotcha.
Pam Ferris plays Trunchbull in the movie, and Emma Thompson obviously plays her in the musical movie.
Right. And Emma Thompson, though, she brought so much, so the last one, what did you say her name was? Pam
Ferris.
Pam Ferris, very Iron Fist.
Yes.
Very, very crazy mad. She has a lot of crazy manic energy. Emma Thompson feels like a general.
Yes.
Straight up.
They even have her outfits resemble that. Very military-esque. And
but the exact same attitude and mannerism and everything, but very stoic in general instead.
But at the same time, crazy. It's so different. It is very much the same character. It is obviously Trunchbull. It is obviously inspired by the Trunchbull in the 1990s movie. But Emma Thompson just brings so much to this.
Oh my god.
I couldn't believe it. I heard she was doing it, and I was like, okay. I mean, I don't know that I could necessarily see that, but she's so talented that it's gonna work.
Right.
But goddamn.
Yeah, she killed it. She is literally the best thing about this movie. Because she completely
was so happy.
Exactly. Amazing. I loved it. It's
maybe
so good.
Not the cake scene. The cake scene before the actual cake part of the scene, when
that's fair.
When Bruce burps. Bruce in this is played by Charlie Hodson Pryor. Now I don't necessarily believe him as a fat kid, and that's fine.
Agreed.
Sarah said, "Why does Bruce necessarily have to be fat? He just has to like chocolate cake." And I'm like,
that's true.
That's also fair. We don't.
He's got to finish this whole. He's got to finish this whole cake, though, which is
it does have to go somewhere. But there are some scrawny ass kids. Remember our friend that lived with us? He ate so much food and was rail thin.
But he also worked out every fucking hour of his life. So there's a reason why he was rail thin. But every hot dog winner contest that I know of is skinny motherfucker. So
that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
So he belches though. That like she doesn't know who ate the cake, and he belches, and this like giant visible wave of sting like floats toward the stage, and then it pops like a bubble, and she like goes like to it. That part was like, why did that have to happen?
Chocolate.
Oh yeah, and they're like the supervising teachers of the cafeteria wake up, and one of them's like, chocolate.
Everybody out.
Everybody out. Yeah, that was really funny. There's this one, I think, maybe because I knew where the humor beats were in the last movie. This one made me laugh more, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think I did laugh a lot more at this one. Because it also felt fresh, which is weird, because it's the exact same story. It literally is, all these beats that we've talked about, all of them happened. They're all pretty much the exact same. But it really did feel fresh, because I feel like the music, even though it is repetitive, but it really does just add a new quality to this story.
Right.
And I feel like it also makes the friendship that Matilda has with Lavender, who is played by Ray Yamauchi Folker. That's a close one. I feel like that relationship feels a little more fleshed out too.
Good job. Yes, I agree.
Even though it's through music mostly, but it still does feel a little more like a thing in this one. Whereas in the last one, Matilda's relationship is really just with Miss Honey.
That's true.
She still has a really strong relationship with Miss Honey in this one, played by Lashana Lynch,
who we just recently talked about in Woman King. And
thank you. I was trying to think of where we. Yeah.
And Sarah actually had to remind me. I was like, God damn it! I know this human being.
Yeah, she's also Miss. That reminds me now that she's also Miss Monica Rambeau in the Marvel movies.
Yes. Yeah. Is that the mother character?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when she said Monica Rambeau, I was thinking of the younger one. I'm like, no, that's a different person. I know that's a different person. But she has a shorter, very 90s haircut in Captain Marvel. So it's
right.
And she is just amazing at being a different
I got
person.
the name wrong. It is Maria Rambeau.
Okay, but it is the older
Monica
character.
I think so. I can't remember.
We'll get it all straight when we see the Marvels in a year or whatever it comes out.
Exactly. She is in the Marvels, though. She would be in the Marvels.
Okay.
That could be a spoiler. Maybe she's the older, and that's a cameo appearance I didn't know. So,
but anyhow, she's very talented. These two, the character that we talked about from The Woman King, completely different than Miss Honey.
Oh yeah,
Miss Honey obviously is a very meek character. I say obviously. I guess we didn't really talk much about her character.
She's very sweet, like honey.
Yes, very sweet like honey, and easy to push around, like honey.
Yeah. Interesting. But she sticks to you. Her kindness rubs off on you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you
except for on Miss Wormwood or Miss Trunchbull, I mean, who has no honey stick to her.
No, she's made out of castor oil.
Oh fuck!
Yeah,
all this the metaphor's working.
We got this.
So here come the wormwood.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the wormwoods as why we're at it. There is no Michael in this movie,
no,
and there is, but there is in the book, and he's not much of a character in the 90s movie anyways, so it works for them to not have him. And the part where Mr. Wormwood, played by Stephen Graham, is holding these balloons that say it's a boy when the doctor's like, you have a beautiful new daughter, and he's like, I have a what?
Stephen Graham does a really good job as Whereas Danny DeVito, even though as he is an idiot, both of them are idiots.
Right.
But Danny just seems like very bully. You know, Danny is like your Charles Dickens like elderly bully.
Right.
Stephen Graham, he still has that bullyish-ness, but he really does just seem like a dumbass.
Right.
Like he's just an adult.
I feel like Danny DeVito portrayed the character like Mr. Wormwood very much believed that he was a very smart, intelligent person.
Yeah, yeah.
And Stephen Graham plays the character like, you know, he is just barely getting by.
Yeah, he's just trying, man. That's it. He's by the skin of his pants getting by. He's just like, or seat of his pants.
Yes.
The skin of his pants? What the fuck is that?
The skin of his pants, our new saying. Me and our friend Sarah, not, you know, we have many Sarahs in our life, but our friend Sarah, we decided that why isn't there a term, some win? Why not? There's somewhat, somewhere. And then, like hours after we had this discussion, they texted me and said, Blake, the word we're trying to invent was sometime.
Oh my god, that's ridiculous. I do think one negative of this movie is that Mrs. Wormwood, played by Andrea Riseborough, kind of disappears to the background a little bit more.
Yeah,
I don't really remember her too much.
I do. There's some things that I liked about her version of the character, but yes, Stephen Graham does seem to sit forward more, and Rhea Perlman and Danny DeVito kind of shared more equal footing.
Yeah, exactly. And this seems more like Stephen Graham is like, he has a lot of more of the he calls her boy all the time. You know, he and she always has to correct him. She's like, I'm a girl. And then finally, like at the very end, when he has this like mild emotional moment where he, you know, somebody off, you know, spoilers. I mean, if you've seen the original, you know it. Miss Honey offers to basically just adopt Matilda,
right?
And you know, in the original, there's like, all right. You know, I mean, like, well, I mean, it's not, there's more to it, but that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
But in this one, he's just like, and you want to take my daughter from me? And Matilda has this moment where she's like, whoa, you just called me your daughter, you know? And it's like, it's a moment where it's like you realize that the father, when presented with this moment, has an actual moment where he's like, no, you can't do that. He's like, I know I treat her like shit, but like.
Yeah, like he shows that he does actually care somewhere. And while he is an abusive, while he is abusive on like the verbal note, he isn't like, you know, whipping her every day or something like that.
Yeah.
He's just neglectful and had no business being a father.
No. So it is a little, you know, it is a little Mr. Wormwood heavy in that regard, and Mrs. Wormwood kind of disappears, but I still do like that play, you know, how, again, it just differs really well from the original.
Yeah.
That it still feels fresh.
I also like how his hair is green throughout the entire
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah. And then when she peels his hat off, he's so happy with her at the end.
Oh, that was actually really cute too, because she uses her powers to unglue the hat that's been glued onto his head since Act 2.
It's good. I really enjoyed that. That was nice.
Hatscalibur.
There is one huge difference we do have to talk about, which is that Matilda in the musical is telling a story. She goes back to the librarian. Is that who she's going to?
Yeah, it is this. I believe Mrs. Phelps is played by Sindhu V, and she has a portable library that she drives from place to place. And Matilda, she always tells Matilda where she's going to be because Matilda has to go and be there and read books all day. I just love their relationship in this. It is really good. This character
it's really cute and
exist in the other version. She's just an elderly lady librarian, played by Jean Spiegel Howard, and she does teach Matilda the Dewey Decimal System, and it's cute and stuff, but the relationship goes so much deeper. Like this Mrs. Phelps really loves Matilda, and thinks that she's like the brightest person that she's probably ever met. And it hangs on her every word while Matilda tells this story of the acrobat and the escapologist, which I am not sure is a word.
It is.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, it's an escape artist. They call them escapologists.
I would just think they would call them an escapist.
I mean, that would be the easiest. Like, come on. But, oh, yeah. And it's really cool, though. Like, I really love this story.
Yes.
It has a lot of good, good beats. It definitely does feel like it's coming from a kid, but it's still like a really good, kid story within a story.
It's so my only problem and emotional. And by the way, the acrobat is played by Lauren Alexandra, and the escapologist is played by Carl Spencer.
And it's a really good story. And I love where it goes. My only problem is that it in the third act, again, spoilers, I'm sorry, but like when you find out that she's she has telekinesis abilities, she also apparently has some kind of weird ESP ability where she knew she was getting this story from Miss Honey. Yeah. It was like she knew this was the story of Miss Honey, and that she was just telling the story of Miss Honey's parents. Right. And it's like, it even though I still love that story, it kind of ruined it a bit, because I thought it was just her making a metaphor of her life. And it kind of,
towards the end of their story, I realized that they were telling the story of Mrs. Honey because of how it's presented in the other movie.
Right.
I don't actually recall if I've ever read the book. I've read a couple of Roald Dahl books, but I don't think I've read Matilda.
I have not. I've read the Chocolate Factory
so I can't tell you if the acrobat and the escapologist are in it, but it feels very Roald Dahl, so I want to believe it's in it. And if it is,
I really like it.
Then that part where she reveals that it is connected to Honey's story, I feel like that is another very Roald Dahl thing to do. / Dickens.
Yeah. To break it around, yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, though, is it's like, I really do like that story. It just felt really weird how they tied it in, because I really just thought, for most of the story, I thought Matilda was just a fucking genius making a metaphor of her life.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, man, I really love this aspect.
Yeah, it does diminish the fact that she invented it. Because she didn't invent it. She thought she did. And she said it comes to her in fizzes. And the powers feel like fizzes too. I like that too. That's also another very Roald Dahl thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like while both movies really captured the spirit of his writing style, because, we keep on referring to him as like the children's Dickens, and that is like the storytelling, sure, but like his individual sentence structure and syntax and diction and stuff, he's very unique writer. Yeah. And it brings like a goofiness / innocence to everything that he writes, even though he has like some really dark subject matter sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, even Willy Wonka has a lot of not horror, but very close to it in regards to, this wild fucking adult who's zany and not at all safe.
Well, I mean, these kids are in danger.
yeah, fucking real.
Fuck. So, I think we're ready for closing statements, though. I
agree.
I was kind of expecting not to like this so much, because I had seen it on stage just this summer, from the wings, though. I didn't catch everything. I was working it, and it was high schoolers performing it. Now, you would say, okay, of course you wouldn't like it then. Okay.
No, I fucking love high school.
Like I said, this show is basically all singing, not very many speaking lines. So these kids first off, had to struggle with that because that's fucking hard for a 3-hour show. They also did excellent in the music. The actual musicality of the play was very good.
Nice.
However, they're still kids and they're not the perfect actors. Like the kids in this, they had one-on-one direction, more so than a high school director probably could. And you know what? Those kids said, they said that their director was their Trunchbull. So, so they had a hard time, mentally in that way, but it made a good show. They made a good show. I just feel bad for them a little bit, but I'm moving on because that's real people. Not that the actors in these movies aren't real people. They're just getting paid. So, true. In this movie, I have said that I still didn't really care for the music, right? That is just because it's all similar. They did it very well. It's very well performed. I just wish that the songs stuck out from each other, and they really just don't. However, Emma Thompson and really Lashana Lynch and Alicia Weir all bring so much to this movie that it really elevated it for me. Particularly Emma Thompson. I mean, Jesus,
Emma Thompson was incredible.
I mean, that Pam Ferris's performance is so classic to me that it's really hard for me to say it, but I really think I like this Emma Thompson version. I got a huge kick out of it. It was funny and terrifying at the same time. I don't know what to say. So I give it another face and a half. I didn't think I was going to like it that as much as I did. I want to watch it again, mostly for Emma Thompson. I don't know if it'll get a face and a half once I watch it again, though.
Right. I mean, that's fair. I'm also giving it the exact same score I gave the other one, which is 3 stars. I agree pretty much with everything that you said, but I really just like... I think the thing that gets me, the reason I'm going to, in the old versus new way of things, I'm going to say that this one wins, which is, I know, a surprise. I'm going to say that because of Emma Thompson, and also because I had nostalgia going into the original one.
Right.
I was excited to watch that one because I was excited to see something of my past. I really enjoyed the experience. I had a lot of fun. And I came into the musical, even though it sounded like I didn't have a lot of fun. I know that the first half of this episode, people are going to be like, it's like, you fucking hated the movie. I didn't hate the movie. I had a good time. I just have issues that I'm vocal about. But I still went into the musical thinking I wasn't going to like it. Thinking that I was like, there's no way it's going to beat the original. The original was fun and I enjoyed it. And I fucking had a great time. And I actually had so good of a time that I walked away being like, I really enjoyed that. And I think I enjoyed it more than the original one, which had nostalgia going for it.
Right.
So I feel like in more views, I will like the nostalgia of the original more. Mm-hmm. But this one really wowed me with the first view, and there's also a Doctor Who reference in it. They talk about the TARDIS, which is awesome.
That's during the cake scene. They're like, is your stomach like a TARDIS? Bigger on the inside.
And I was like, you win. You immediately win.
Man, it's really hard. They're really neck and neck for me. Since you gave it to the musical, I think I will give it to the original because I love that Danny DeVito really wanted this movie to exist, that he did a spectacular job directing it. I'm a big Danny DeVito fan, so this is me even saying, like, I don't even like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I don't really like the show, but I love Frank.
What?
Frank is hilarious.
You don't like the show?
Not really. No, it's a little too mean sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna even act like I'm that upset. I've only watched like a few seasons, but I agree with you. It is a little too mean at times, but I also feel like that's just an East Coast thing.
Yeah, so. maybe. But Frank is delightful.
Yeah, Frank's beautiful. Frank's fucking fabulous. Yeah, so, Danny DeVito is a damn treasure. Let's be honest.
He is. He's our treasure. No one can take him away. Please don't be like just the worst.
He's a national treasure.
Yeah.
We don't have to claim
Please don't be like the worst person in secret, though, okay? Please. I think...
Yeah. No.
I've heard that he's pretty nice. But I've also
keep the skeletons in your closet, Danny.
Yes, please. I've heard
delete
some
your browser history,
things, too. All right, that's the fucking show. Let's stop talking about Danny DeVito's searches.
Thank you guys for joining. It's always been fun. If you like this, please head to patreon.com/greenandfaceless. Check us out. We know very few of you get to the end here. We've seen the statistics. We know where you drop off at. But for those of you who do get here, we really appreciate it. We love you very much. And, it would be nice to hear, at the very least, feedback. If you don't have the ability to join us on our Patreon, that's totally fine. We understand. Right. But we love to hear from you. So please just reach out to us however you can. Leave comments.
Yeah.
Emails, whatever the fuck, however you need to reach out to us. We love to hear back.
greenandfacelessfans@gmail.com, I believe.
There it is.
I'll cut it out if it's not.
But thank you all for joining. We love you so very much. I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
And I am the Faceless Leone, the most useful experiment on Earth.
Oh, really?
Think of that, yeah.
Oh, really?
That's been our show. Safe travels and good night. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of FictionWorks 19. Are you a fan of the show? Feel free to contact us at greenandfacelessfans@gmail.com or visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/greenandfaceless. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Or rate us on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for listening.